Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of In the Book Garden. And I'm coming up a month now on the channel being live. I'm going to do a December Reads post. So yes, I opened the channel with a November Reads video of what I was going to read in November, and I actually did pretty well on that. I missed a couple of books off the end and I've started an extra one which I'm going to put in my December list. But other than that, I did pretty well. So I think I read more books than I've read in a very long time. So I'm quite pleased. I think I read 6 books in November, so I'm quite chuffed about that. And now I'm going to look at my December reads, and I think I've probably bitten off more than I can chew. We'll show you the pile in a second, and then we'll go through them. So here we go then. This is the pile. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books there, I think, and that's too many. A couple of them are kids' books, so that's something. But I'm never going to get through all those. But we'll see how we get on. And there is a little bit of possibility of switching things, which I'll explain as I go through. So the first one I'm going to read, and I've actually already started, is Operation Nativity. Really wanted to review this as early as I could in December, so I've cracked on with that. Jenny Pearson, I'm halfway through it. It's very funny. Looking forward to doing a full review of that. So it's a children's book, obviously, from Usborne. The next two, and I may not read both in December, is The Lost War and The Bitter Crown, which are books 1 and 2 in the Aiden saga by Justin Lee Anderson. These were sent to me by Black Crow PR. I'm looking forward to checking these out. I always like starting new fantasy series, and 2023 was the year I rediscovered fantasy, so I'm looking forward to diving into those. I'm definitely going to read this one, and depending on how I find it, I might pass this one over to January, because as you know, I've got quite a lot of books to read. Next up are another couple of children's books that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and these are the Loki books by Louie Stowell. Or Stowell. So the first one, I think, is Loki, A Bad God's Guide to Being Good. I mean, Loki's such a great character in Norse mythology and obviously in the Marvel films. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these. Louie Stowell, I follow on Twitter. She's really good fun to follow, and lots of book knowledge, really supportive author. So I'm really looking forward to checking those out. These are the American versions. I contacted Geek Dad, as I've mentioned before, I write for. They've had an advertisement campaign with these books with the publisher. I kind of assume they get in touch with the UK publisher and send me the UK versions, but they've actually sent me the US versions all the way from America. So looking forward to diving into those. And then my final book on the PR trail, another one sent to me from Black Crow PR, is Grievar's Blood, which is by Alexander Darwin. It's the second book in the Combat's Code series. I read the first book earlier this year. Really enjoyed it. Actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, if that makes sense. So it's a slightly Hunger Games-y type premise. Basically, the fate of nations and whatever combat thing is settled in sort of one-on-one individual combat. So it's got a Hunger Games feel of people who are training for combat. But there turned out to be quite a lot more to it than I anticipated when I read the book. It was the intrigue and the kind of world building was really interesting. So I'm looking forward to diving into Grievar's Blood and sort of finding out what's going to happen, where the story's going to go. Be a good one to read once the children are off school, because it'll be like combat codes in here, I think, most of the time. One of my standout reads of this year has been The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, and this is the follow-up, The Tyranny of Faith. I've had this a couple of months now. It's been burning a hole on my bedside table. I'm desperate to get to it, so I really hope I find time in December to get to it. The Justice of Faith The Justice of Kings, is the best fantasy book I've read in a really long time. It's going to feature in my forthcoming Books of the Year post. But I'm really looking forward to finding out about this. Again, it's just fantastic world building, really good characterisation, really interesting story, and I want to see how it's going to continue. And talking of stories that I want to see continue, next up I have For the First Time Again, which is actually the third book in, I'm not even sure what this series is called actually, but I really love these books. The first one was called A History of What Comes Next, and the second one was called Until the Last of Me. So they describe an alternate history in which an alien life form has basically been trapped on Earth for a really long time, and they want to get to the point where we humans can build space rockets so they can get off the planet. So this hereditary chain of aliens has been basically working down through the ages to get sort of advanced science and get towards jet propulsion. And it's the first book starts after the end of the Second World War with them trying to get German scientists across to America so that they can start the space program. The second one was set in the 60s and 70s, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think I actually got around to reviewing it for one reason or another, but I absolutely loved it. So I'm really keen to try this again. The third book, so that is For the First Time Again by Sylvain Neuvel, and I think these books are really underrated. They're quite hard to find. I did find it on the shelf in the big Waterstones up in London, but you don't really hear much about them, but I think they are really, really good. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that one. So my last two choices, whether I get to them or not, will remain to be seen. The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Now, I have already read this year, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was 100% brilliant, and I think it's going to be my book of the year. I'm kind of spoiling my book of the year video at the moment, but it was so good. But I really want to read it again. It's a fairly light read. It's not very thick, and it's there's quite a lot of sort of page breaks and things. But it was just so good, and I just want to read it again, get my head around it. It ties back into some other novels, and I've been away and read those too. So I want to read this again, having read those, and see what I make of it. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to read that. And my final one might ride roughshod over a couple of those. It's Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, which I think has been nominated and possibly won 1 million prizes. Shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I feel like it won the Pulitzer, but I can't quite remember. But it's really, I mean, I love Barbara Kingsolver books. The couple that I've read, I've really enjoyed. I've never read The Poisonwood Bible, which is like a big work, but I've read Flight Behaviour and Lacuna, which I both thought were excellent. I find them a little bit intimidating. They're quite deep. The writing style is very, you have to really work at it. This one, again, I was a little bit intimidating because it's a reworking of David Copperfield, and I'm not a massive fan of Dickens. So, but this will probably be my book club choice. Now, I was hoping to have had my book group before this video was made, because it was meant to be last week, so I was meant to know whether I was going to be reading it or not. I haven't had it yet because it was postponed for a week, so I won't find out whether this is what we're going to read in December into January. It probably is, in which case I'll probably have to put a couple of those aside and concentrate on old Barbara Kingsolver here. So that's my December reads. Hope you found it interesting. Hope there's some books in there you might be interested in, and let me know what you're going to be reading in December. There's no way I'm going to get through all of these. Christmas is a funny time. I will have more downtime, but then again, the kids will be home a lot more, and there's always a lot going on at Christmas, isn't there? So who knows what will happen. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you soon somewhere in the book garden.